Bienvenidas y bienvenidos. Welcome to this important masterclass that we are looking forward to learn from our dear friend Robert Rob Corbett. He's been with Pixelatl since the beginning in 2012. He gave an amazing lecture about characters, how you love them, and sometimes why you don't. And today, after 10 years and helping several projects from Pixelatel as well, like my brother the Monster, or he's gonna tell us more about his career and how he's helped the industry in Mexico. He's gonna talk about something very important, and it's about art, how art helps us endure bad times. So, without any further to add, let's welcome Rob Corbett. Welcome, my friend.
Thank you. Thank you. I am so excited to be here. The only thing that could make me more excited is if I was in Cuernavaca with everyone. I am a massive fan of this festival. I am involved in several festivals. Please don't tell anyone. This is my favorite. I want to tell you a little story. About 15, maybe 16 years ago, I was in Mexico City doing a music theater workshop. I was teaching the acting portion of the workshop, and my wife at the time was teaching the music portion, and there were a few dancers. And at the end of the first day, um, this young man came up to me and said, "Do you know anything about animation?" He says, "I'm an animator, and I think this course in acting is going to be helpful to me, but I don't know." Well, I teach acting and animation. I do it at several colleges across Ontario and Toronto. I've done it internationally. Joe and I have become great friends. Joe Alanas. At the end of that week, he says he has this idea about an animation festival in Mexico. He thinks it could be wonderful, and there is nothing like that. And if that happens, would I be interested in coming down? And I said, yes, I will do that. I got an email a year later from Joe saying, I think it's going to happen. And then it didn't. And then I got an email a year later saying, I think it's going to happen. Are you still interested? And I said, yes. And it didn't happen. This took 5 or 6 years. Finally, Joe says, it's going to happen. Are you interested? And I said, sure. And then assumed it wouldn't happen. And then a plane ticket showed up. I flew to Mexico and was at the first iteration, the first year of Pixelatl. And I remember getting back on the plane thinking to myself, that was so sad. Everyone worked so hard. It was such an amazing festival, and no one showed up. I don't want to say no one, but very few people. It was the first year. It wasn't well promoted. It was a very small and very wonderful festival. And as I got on the plane to come back to Canada, I remember thinking, they've worked so hard and it's over. And then I got a call the next year, and the next year, and the next year. This tiny little festival run by, some of them are in the room, so I will be nice, really stubborn people who don't know when to quit, have turned this into one of the great and important animation festivals in North America, possibly even in the world. It is awesome. Every time I come and talk at Pixelatl and several other places as well, I tell that story. As artists, we need to be reminded to keep at it. I don't want to be the bearer of bad news. I don't want to start by telling you something sad, something down, but there are going to be delays. Bad things are going to happen. You are going to have problems. I'm sorry. Keep at it. Keep at it. I got an email a couple of weeks ago from Jose asking if I would be interested in being in the 10th anniversary of Pixelatl, and that answer was very quick. And he talked about how inspiring he finds me. I'm very flattered by that. I'm not sure I always see myself that way. And I suggested that it might be interesting to do something on the importance of art in challenging times. I wrote a little blurb. That blurb has gone onto the website. It's the thing that was up there. And he got excited about it. And then I got excited about it. And then I realized I'm not sure I have anything to say except that art matters. And that makes for a very short lecture. So let me backtrack a little bit. Pixelotl has become this massive festival. There are so many things going on right now, and you have chosen to be here right now. Life is busy, and you have chosen to be here right now on a lecture, a workshop, a class on the importance of art in challenging times. So I am going to jump to the conclusion that you either are, have been, or expect to be in the middle of a challenging time. This inspires me. It also makes me sad, and it scares the crap out of me. When I teach a workshop in acting, I'm on it. I know my stuff. I know how to do this. When I teach a class on animation history, I bring Betty Boop and off we go. I am ready to go with that. When I teach a course in cinematography, I know what I'm doing. As I started to think about the importance of art in challenging times, I realized that I'm not qualified to lead this because I'm in the middle of it. This is a really tough year. Am I alone on that? It's been hard. On top of COVID, which has hit me personally, it has hit me financially. Friends of mine have been very sick. Shortly into COVID, my mother died. It was not COVID related, but we couldn't see her. And the funeral was family only. This woman who'd been so involved. It's been a really rough year. I want to be clear from the beginning that I'm not coming in as an expert. This isn't me teaching. This is me exploring where I am with a room full of fellow artists. I have always believed that art mattered, always. But now I believe it more importantly. So, because I am me, I have to talk about the importance of art in challenging times. So I start researching that. And I find all sorts of amazing information about art therapy. And it's an amazing source, but I'm not an art therapist. I'm an artist and I'm an art teacher. And I deeply, deeply respect and follow art therapy. Art therapy. It's so important. But that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about art that we are creating. One of the through lines that I've discovered is that the creation of art is therapeutic. Making something matters. And we're going to get to that. One of the other things that comes up a lot, and I'm going to skim through this fairly quickly, is the art that has come out of crisis, right? Great works of art came out of crisis. If you look at the Black Death, it was one of the primary causes of the Renaissance, the great outpouring. Uh, uh, oh my goodness, I'm forgetting his name. The guy who did the Scream. Um, that guy, that art. I'm so bad with names. That artist.
Edward Monk.
Yes, Edward. Yes, survived the Spanish flu and the First World War. If you look at that piece and other works of art, you see this great outpouring of angst, and they're beautiful. And that's important. But it's not what I wanted to talk about. I want to talk about, as a group of artists, as a collection of artists, I want us to forget that we are creators for a moment. We get this idea, at least I do, that art, the creation of art, is a selfish thing. We do it because we want to. Or we get this idea that art is something that is self-serving, that in times of crisis, we should be doing something more important. We should be out helping people, right? We should be out, I don't know what that looks like, but that in times of crisis, art should take a back seat to more important things, to medical discoveries, to helping people, to treating people who are sick. And I'm not knocking any of those. Art does some things that those things cannot do. Art feeds our soul. As artists, it allows us to process, it helps us to express things, and that is deeply important. We get this idea that I came across this quote. A gentleman by the name of Patrick Moore. He is the director of the Andy Warhol Museum in New York, great curator. He says, during times of crisis, artists become conveyors of emotion that go beyond what can be read in textbooks or newspapers. Art plays a role, perhaps similar to religion, in that it helps us understand things that are too big to understand. Art connects us, not only to each other, art connects us to the past. We look at great works of art from the past and they touch us, they move us. I don't know if this woman, I'm going to reference a woman who is one of my favorite people. She's on my bucket list to meet before I die. So if any of you run into a woman by the name of Brené Brown, and don't send me an email to tell me where she is, I will come and hunt you down. She's very popular in sort of certain circles. Do you guys know Brené Brown? Is that a name you know? Brené Brown is one of the funniest women who speaks on serious subjects. She is a shame researcher. She researches the effects of shame on our lives and helps people deal with them. That sounds very, very heavy, except she's also one of the funniest, warm-heartedest people I've ever heard. She talks about shame in some really interesting ways. And she talks about when we are having a rough time, what we really need. And she's very, very funny. So she gives examples of what not to do. When someone is having a really rough time, things that you don't want to do are pity them. I'm so sorry for you. Oh, you're having such a hard time down there. I'm so sorry. That distances. We do that because it makes us feel better, but it doesn't actually help. Or we jump into fix. How many people have had a really bad day, a really, really rough day or week or month or year, and the last thing you want is someone telling you how to fix it? Is it just me, or is that irritating? Right? We don't want someone coming to fix us. We also don't want someone, as she calls it, the if yeah buts, right? Yeah, you're having a rough time, but you know, at least you're still healthy, or at least you're still alive. You know, my cat died. Well, at least your kids are healthy. You know, my marriage is falling apart. Oh, well, you know, at least at least you had a marriage. It doesn't help. When someone's hurting, helps is listening and being with them. We need to take their perspective. We need to stay out of judgment. We need to recognize the emotions and we need to communicate that we have felt that way. In very simple terms, the best thing we can do when someone is hurting is say, I get it. I get it. I have been there. I feel your pain. Art does that for us. One of my favorite cartoon series are the Winnie the Pooh series, based on the books by A.A. Milne. And I love Eeyore. Do you guys know Winnie the Pooh? Eeyore's this little donkey, right? I am not qualified to make this diagnosis, but if I had to, I would say that Eeyore is suffering from chronic clinical depression, right? The guy, he's got a problem. And his friends actually help him in the perfect way. They're with him. They don't try to fix him. They don't try and cheer him up. They're just with him. And he shrugs along and he goes with them. They're with him. This is what art does. This is what Brené Brown is talking about. Art comes with us. I hope I am the only one who has ever experienced this. But I don't need your details. We can stick around afterwards and commiserate if you want to. But how many of you have had your heart broken? I don't mean a little hurt. I mean smashed into tiny pieces, tromped on the floor, and then left. Right? Been there. Dating a wonderful person now, but I've been there. How many of you, all the hands are going up. For those of you who have not had your heart broken, I am so glad. Wait, you will. Sorry, welcome to life. It just happens. When we're feeling that, we don't want to hear, well, at least someone loved you once. I have an answer for that, but it's not polite. Nobody wants to get fixed. Come on out, right? When we are hurting, deeply wounded because someone we loved abused that love, what helps is a sad, hurt, and love song, right? Someone else puts how we feel into words. It doesn't make us feel better. We don't forget that something terrible has happened, but someone is out there feeling with us, and we are not alone. This does not negate the power of a good friend doing that. I'm all over friends and personal connection. But there's nothing like a sad love song when you're hurting, right? How does that song get written? Every artist approaches music, approaches writing in a different way, but there are some things that every single one of them do. The first thing is they get hurt. Everyone who has written or sung a good, heartbreaking song has had their heart broken. Then they use all their skill. They face that pain full on and they put it into their art. They wrap their skill, they wrap their abilities to rhyme and rhythm and metaphor and melody, and they put those things together. And we listen to them and we go, yes, it's not just, I am not alone. This is what art does for us. Art reminds us that we are not alone. One of the things that I love to say is that when we create art, there's all kinds of technique, right? As a teacher, I can teach you technique. I can teach you where to stand so the camera hits you. I can teach you how to enunciate the words. I can teach you how to break down text. You can learn color theory and you can learn perspective. This is all vital. I'm not knocking any of that. But art is that human part of you that gets into your work, where we get honest and we say, this is what I feel. One of the things that I've discovered, I've been teaching in animation for 25 years. I've been teaching in the arts for about 30. This is what I know. When you get honest about what you feel, two things happen. The first thing that happens is we find out that we are all the same. We all feel the same emotions the same way. I am a 57-year-old bald white dude from Canada. I feel joy exactly the same way you do. I feel sadness exactly the same way you do. I feel grief and fear exactly the same way you do. That is the first thing that happens. The second thing that happens is we discover that we are all absolutely, utterly unique. The way you express that emotion cannot be duplicated by anyone in the history of the world. When we get honest as artists, we discover that we are all the same and we are all different. All of the garbage in the middle goes away. The way you feel, and this is what makes art art. This is what separates a novel from a textbook. This is what separates a song from a grocery list. This is what separates a beautiful work of art from a medical drawing. We are creating emotion. Art gives our audiences connection. And when the world gets too hard, and sometimes it does, my world, I can't speak for you, my world has been really hard this year. Art gives me a place that I can go to that is not overly personal. It's someone else's emotion. And something in my brain gets tricked a little bit to believe that it hurts a little less feeling for a fictional character. And I am allowed to heal. We go to art to heal. As artists, it is absolutely vital on every level that we regularly get out of our own art and get into the audience. Why do we go to art? And we all do. This is an animation festival. I hope you all love animation, not just making it, but going to it. If you don't, you're at the wrong festival. If you don't want to watch animation, go do something else. You will be happier. We can't forget that we are also audience members. And when we are hurting, art gives us a safe place to explore and to heal. Art matters. There's a wonderful quote from Stephen Pressfield. I'm going to read it here. Great author. He writes about the importance of art and a lot of these subjects. He says, creative work is not a selfish act or a bid for attention on the part of the actor. It's a gift to the world and every being in it. Don't cheat us of your contribution. Give us what you've got. I love that quote. How many of you, and I don't know your histories, I have a few familiar faces, which is wonderful to see. A lot of new faces, also wonderful, but I don't know a lot of your stories. How many of you, when you told your family you were thinking about becoming a professional artist, were greeted with cheers of support? That's awesome. We've got some hands. Some were. That's amazing. Can I borrow your parents? My don't get me wrong, my parents were and continue to be supportive. They were great. Both of my parents have passed away, but when I first announced that I was going into theater with this face, I was given some very careful, maybe you want to do something else and do theater on the side. There's some good community theater companies. It's wonderful that you have this expression, right? We don't always get the support. We get this idea that doing art, especially if we are planning to do it on some grand level, a professional level, that it is selfish. It is not. It is not. So I'm going to assume that, I could go on, but, time is, we're all busy people. Let's get on to so what do we do about this? Okay, I'm sold. I'm sold. Art is healing. How do I make art that is healing? Here's how you make art that is healing. Stop trying to make art that is healing. That's preachy. Nobody wants that. No one wants to be preached at. Here's the reality. You live in the world. You live and experience the world from a unique perspective, but also from a perspective that is universal. It comes back to we all feel the same way. We all see a worldwide pandemic and we get frightened. We get confused. There's too much going on, right? We all see moments of hope and we feel joyful. Don't try, just do. Tell your stories honestly from your heart. It is that simple and that complicated. It's simple to say, I'm an artist. That is not always simple to do, right? Telling our stories honestly is the challenge of a lifetime. But as we continue to work towards that, we will present the world something that will heal. We get this idea that our perspective is so unique, so different, so out there, so unusual that no one will really connect with it. How do I make it in such a way that other people will love it, that it will move them? And that's an awesome question. And my only answer is you can't. Stop trying. Trying to figure out what someone else wants, what will move someone else, what will heal someone else is a recipe for being frustrated your entire working career. Here's what you do. And some of us, I've known you for about a half hour. Some of you I've known for several years. I hate to be the person to tell you bad news, but here's some bad news. You're grown-ups and you need to know this. You're not that special. You're not. If something moves you, it will move other people. The story that you want to tell, the way you want to tell it, will find an audience. You know why? Because you're not that special. Because we all feel the same way. And this is why great art is universal and timeless. This is why a young person from Mexico can create a series that makes me laugh. And it's in Spanish. I can say taco. That's my Spanish. That's all the Spanish I've got. I know when work is good. I can read Shakespeare and I can laugh and I can cry. I look at cave paintings on the walls in southern France, and there's I did a little bit of research on this a few years ago. All kinds of research, also all sorts of controversy. Why were they painted? And there are people who are saying they were maps to the hunting area, and there are people who are saying that they are invoking their gods, or they're celebrating the hunt, or they're just graffiti. Nobody knows why they were painted. I will tell you what that artist was feeling when those bisons were painted. They were excited. That emotion is in that art from the dawn of humanity. These things are 10,000 years old. And the emotion in those paintings is still there. They're exciting, not because they're old, because an artist was excited about whatever and put it on a wall, and it still generates excitement. If you express what you are feeling from the world you live in, it will find an audience. The rest is technique. I am all over that. Go to your workshops, learn your craft, work hard at that, right? Learn your stretch and squash and your follow through. Learn all of that. Get your color theory down. But inside of that, make sure that you are expressing honest emotion, because that will heal. Not only will it heal your audience, it will heal you. And this all sounds great if we're writing Romeo and Juliet, right? This all is awesome if we're creating Grave of the Fireflies or even Spirited Away. What about if I just want to make silly cartoons? What if I just want to make something awesome, like Agent Awesome? What happens if I want to make some silly bit of nonsense? I want to help. I want to be part of the healing process of art, but it's not what I do. That statement, and I hear that statement, I hear it often from students and I hear it from critics. I believe statements like that are one of the reasons our world is in such a mess. We have decided as a culture, and this is a disease as far as I'm concerned, we have decided as a culture that sadness and grief and fear and disgust, these are important topics. Joy? not so important. Laughter, not so important. What is wrong with us? What is wrong with a culture that says that comedy is not valid, that laughter doesn't matter? There's something wrong with the culture there. And don't get me wrong, I believe deeply that art should explore pain and sorrow and grief, but not at the expense of joy. If our art can't explore joy and laughter and lightness and community and connection, what good is it? Right? I have real problems with people who say things like, it's just a comedy. Like, come and say that to my face. We will have a chat. I feel as much anger when someone says, it's just children's animation. Like, come and talk to me. I'm a parent. Let me tell you how important children's animation is. It matters. One of the great problems is that we have lost sight of the importance of comedy. One of the things that I've realized as an actor, as an acting teacher, and as a writer is that no audience, and when I say audience, I mean someone watching animation or reading a book or listening to music or looking at a painting, anyone who is the end receiver of the art. No audience member ever had an emotional response to a dishonest presentation. If comedy isn't honest, it's not good. I don't have a problem with comedy. I have a problem with bad comedy. I don't have a problem with drama. I have a problem with bad drama. If it is dishonest, if if you are getting laughs, if your work is making people laugh, then there is an honesty inside it. That's an equal sign between those two things. And if we are being honest, then we are connecting. And if we are connecting, then we are healing. We've got this division between drama and comedy that is a fairly modern thing. In the Elizabethan era, the greatest writer of tragedies was William Shakespeare, and the greatest writer of comedies was William Shakespeare. In ancient Greece, writers were not considered writers if they couldn't create drama and comedy. The greatest actor in the early silent film era, in the greatest dramatic actor was Charlie Chaplin. The greatest comic actor was Charlie Chaplin. The division between comedy and drama is a new thing, and it's not healthy. I'm not suggesting you have to do both, but we do need to respect both. Don't assume that because you're doing light-hearted escapism, that you are not creating something that matters. On the subject of escaping, the other thing that comedy does is it allows us to escape. That is not a bad thing. I was talking to here's a little bit of personal information. I am dating this awesome guy. He is a nurse. And I was asking him about this morning. Does pain management, does relieving someone's pain, does that help the healing process? If it only relieves pain, that would be enough, right? I don't hurt anymore. That's enough. Does it actually help the healing? And he was like all over it. Yes. Without pain management, people don't get up and move. If they don't get up and move, they get infected. Pain management allows systems within the body to help to heal. Comedy does the same thing. The fact that comedy is escapist is a word that I've often heard used in a critical way. It's escapist. Let's go back to heartbreak. When your heart is broken and you can escape for a half hour or an hour and laugh and forget, you haven't forgotten, but you've had a break and you can come back at it healthier and stronger. Years ago, my brother-in-law was dying of cancer. You want to talk about art during a crisis? It was at a point where it was close to the end, and my wife, his sister, and I came back from the hospital one day, and we couldn't cry anymore. We were just done. This is how long ago it was. We went to the video rental store back in the day when we were renting videos, and we just needed an escape. I don't remember the comedy we watched, but we sat and laughed for an hour and a half, and it was healing. It gave us a break. We didn't forget. We talked about this later. At no point did we forget how sick Michael was. That wasn't part of what was going on. We knew that. It was in the back of our minds the entire time. But an hour and a half of a break allowed us to show up at the hospital stronger, better rested, able to share some of the humor. Mike had seen the movie before he got sick. We were able to laugh with him about it. And if you don't think that was healing for everyone in that room, you don't understand the power of. Don't assume for a second that because you're not doing important dramatic animation, whatever that is, that your work is not healing. It is. This all sounds very heavy. And sorry to launch off the festival on Monday night with all this heaviness. It wasn't my intention. But art matters. What we do matters. It matters deeply. It matters to us. It matters to our community. It matters to our family. It has been a horrible year and a half, right? I look at the newscasts from around the world. I am aware of the situation in Mexico. You should do something about that. You should go make some art without apologies. A lot of young people earlier in their careers get this idea that they're not good enough, that they're not real artists. Let me ask you, has anyone in the room ever felt like they weren't a real artist? I have. What do you mean by artist? I'm going to ask you what you mean by that. I believe that we are not artists because we go to school to study art or because we are making a living as artists. That matters, and that's great. I fully support you on that. Did it myself, and it's worked out great. I believe everyone who chooses the blue shirt over the black one because it makes them feel better is an artist. I believe everyone who puts just the right amount of spice into the taco is an artist. I believe we are artists not because we choose to be artists. I believe we are artists because we are human. So all of this talk about not an artist, I'm not good enough, bundle all of that up and throw it in the garbage. Are you good enough? Of course you are. Are you good enough? Of course you're not. Somewhere between those two is the reality. I have been writing for 30 years. I'm not good enough. And yet, I had a show sell out the Manhattan Repertory Theater 5 years ago. So somebody liked it. You are going to create art. Not because you're at Pixelotl, not because you're an animator, not because you came to this festival, not because I said so. You are going to create art because you are human. Do it consciously. Dive in. Does that mean that everyone should be a professional artist? No, it's not a life for everyone, and that's okay. But I look at art in a much broader sense. Yes, painting, sculpture, animation. Yes, writing and music. Yes, cooking and child rearing. Yes, medicine and teaching. They are all arts. When you strive to engage emotionally, when you strive to make things better, you are an artist. I think raising children is the most and I got two teenagers. Raising children is the hardest art you can do. Tanya rolled her eyes when I said I have two teenagers. My teenagers are great most of the time. The question, should everyone be an artist, is the wrong question. Everyone is an artist. Everyone who puts a piece of art or paints their walls a very specific color. We are arts. Sometimes we need a little permission. We feel that we're not worthy, especially when we start talking about how important art is. So when I have a master's in creative writing, and one of the subheadings that I took in my master's was teaching art, typically writing. And there was a lot of talk and a lot of lessons about how we can teach technique, sentence structures and story structures and defining characters, all that sort of thing. And that's all vital. But the biggest thing we do as art teachers is we say yes. Yes. That thing that you really want to do. Yes. So, Jose, when he started, just before he left, said that I would tell you a little bit about my career. This is where it's happening. I have a master's in creative writing. I've been teaching at the biggest animation schools in my country for over 20 years. I have taught internationally. 4 years ago, my play sold out the Manhattan Repertory Theater. I have had knitting designs on stage during Paris Fashion Week. I am the real deal, and I am giving you permission to create art. Not that you need my permission.
Para en lo peor esta conferencia en lo que papá.
Oh. Not that you need my permission to make art. You were given that permission when you breathed your first breath on this planet. You have the right to make art, and you will make art. Not because Rob says so, not because you have this great responsibility to use your talents. You are going to make art because you are human. It's what we do. Art connects us. It brings us together, not just with each other. It connects us to the past. I watched Romeo and Juliet, 1590 something, 1580 something. It's hundreds of years old, and every single time, no. And when I feel betrayed, I see and I feel Scar looking at his brother Mufasa and saying, "Long live." And I know that Andres Deja, who animated that scene, knew what that was. I'm not alone. When my heart breaks, a sad song makes me feel less alone. When I need a break from the challenge of my life, and sorry to keep saying this, it's been a rough year. Comedy makes me laugh and gives me a break and gives me perspective. And sometimes a good silly comedy teaches me things. Art is healing. In ancient Greece and Rome, the temples and the theaters were beside each other. It wasn't just because they were at the center of town. Some of these cities were huge. The temples of healing and the theaters were beside each other. Art is healing. It heals the maker and it heals the audience. Go make some art. I don't know how to end this, so I'm not going to. My challenge to you, dive in, be brave, make some art. Stop worrying about whether it's good enough. It's not. It never will be good enough for you, ever. If you don't have high standards, your work won't be any good. Welcome to the creative life. Sorry. Create art and share. It will heal you. It is not, I don't want to put art above medicine. I have been accused of that, and I want to be very clear. I'm not knocking doctors and nurses. I'm dating a nurse, right? Medicine matters, but these two can work and should. Art in challenging times. Whether or not it is a personal challenge, like my mom died last year, or whether it is a community or global challenge. We're fighting a pandemic that is ravaging our world. Art heals. Go make some and go enjoy some. Be on both sides of that equation. I hope the rest of the festival is amazing. I hope you are inspired and informed. I hope you learn things. I hope you make amazing friends. I have every single time I come to Mexico, I meet new friends. Every single time, more and more people become great friends. I am deeply grateful for this festival. I am grateful for the invitation to come back. I am overwhelmed that this has been going on for 10 years. 10 years. Wow. They should have given up. I would have. I'd have given up after year 2. Don't give up. Keep at it, because amazing things happened. Carla, is that a Canadian raccoon? I've never seen a raccoon
Yes,
in
it
Mexico. Did you put that up there for me?
is. I love it, them.
I have raccoons. So you don't have raccoons in Mexico? I will tell you, they are really cute and they're really smart and they love garbage. I
Yes, I
don't
know
want,
it.
oh, the mess they make on my street every single garbage day. So that's what I have. I hope that has been helpful. I have nothing else to do until tomorrow morning. I would love to stick around. I will answer any questions you have, or I will wish you well. And thank you for coming. It has been amazing. Are there any questions in the chat? Let me just see.
Thank you very much, Rob. You should know that we have a chat for the broadcast where we have hundreds of people there. Everybody
dear.
wants you to be their dad, their uncle.
Oh,
It's like they wish they've met you before. So much wiseness.
oh, you're so sweet.
No, but people are. I mean, that's what they're writing. But it's like 1,000 lines, so I'm trying to just be brief and tell you a summary. But thank you.
You are sweet. This has been wonderful. Again, hopefully very soon, all in person. That'd be very oh, thank you so much. Anyway, go make some art. Stop listening to me. Go make something. Go have some fun. Go make some stuff. I will hang around. Yeah. Oh, and stop being so critical of yourself. I'm talking to myself now. So I'm working on a play. I haven't touched it in 2 weeks because I really screwed up 2 weeks ago, like big time. Long story. Forgive yourself. Forgive yourself, Rob.